Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Valdik. Rabbi Isai, these are the children of MDY. The kids of MDY, some. There are many, many more. And actually, on a typical day, we have more kids, right? But these are the kids that give us, the adults, a lot of chizuk. They get up early in the morning. They have better things to do, really. You're a child. You don't really need to do the daf and learn Masechta after Masechta. We have here Akiva that's with us since Brachas Daf Beis. 3 years. And others. So I want to say a tremendous yishkoyach to these children. And the reason why I'm bringing them up here today, Dafka today, is because a beautiful song came out yesterday from Torah Masorah about the children in Torah. And we have a big schos, Sheleima Gertner, Benny Friedman, they sing the song. It's a beautiful song, you'll hear a little bit. And we have a big schos that the star of this video is part of our shir. Yisrael Kampf, Shalom Aleichem. Here he is. Now, you all here, I don't know if you saw this. You saw the video yet? Akiva also has a beautiful voice. I know. I don't know about you guys. You have a good voice? You're in a choir. Woohoo! Oh, by the way, David Factor, since Brachas Daf Beis, how old were you then?
8.
8 years old, and I could be made. This kid asks better questions than most of the adults in this room. Much better than your father. Don't even go there. No, I'm just kidding. Your jokes are better. Everything's better. Okay. Now, Rabbi, I want you to watch this video. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. And watch our star here. And if you notice, all the way at the end, he puts a magnet on the door. Guess what magnet it is? Okay, I don't want to give it away. Chas v'shalom. Here we go.
Our children are the nation, and the nation will endure. For the chain remains unbroken when the children are the core. Our children are our spirit. If we could only see, our children see no limit to their possibility. Our children are the purpose and the meaning of it all. They will hold on to the title and continue Klal Yisrael. See no limit to their possibility. Our children are the purpose and the meaning of it all. They will hold on to the Torah and our children are the purpose. They will hold on to the Torah and continue.
Great job. We're very proud of you. Keep on a whole year doing the daf, huh? How many Masechtas? Megillah! He's a Megillah guy. Unbelievable. Yishkoyach kids. Yishkoyach for coming every day. Yishkoyach. And now your friends that didn't come today, they would come every single day. They're going to be a little jealous. Okay. It's a nice song, Nachas. It's a very nice song. And good acting. The kid is a good actor. Rabbi said we have a few emails. I don't know if we have time. We have an email from Doppelt, Yoli Doppelt. Always a classic, an immediate classic. So let me read that one. After having been an avid Talmud since Yuma Daf Pei, which is almost 2 years, I'm coming to realize that MDY is not just a shir, it's a lifestyle. The following are some personal examples I've recently noticed. If being on the fringe means you checked out a few minutes of Shirley Bornstein shir just to hear some raid, and you feel guilty, you might be an MDYer, Mendy. If spotting Castell wine at an event gets you all excited, you might be an MDYer. If you hear that the boy read to your daughter 6'2", and you say to yourself, yay, just like Rebelli, you might be an MDYer. That happened to him, I guess. If you find yourself on a scaffold negotiating with bricklayers for the price of shooting a Good Morning Rabbi Sayah video until they threaten to call the police, you might be an MDYer. If you find yourself driving the stewardess crazy to change your seat near a frum guy in order to hopefully have him take a picture of you learning the daf, you might be an MDYer. If you find yourself telling the joke for a second marriage is good enough, and your family shemer brachas, and based on the funny looks you're getting, you wonder to yourself, where did I go wrong here? You may be an MDYer. On a more serious note, There's a big tayelis to your jokes. That was for you, Eli. Last week, I forgot that I didn't finish one specific daf, and I bumped into Eli Dykman, who said, wasn't that a good joke yesterday? Which reminded me that I had to be mashlim. So keep it up. And as a chelik, it has a chelik. These jokes have a chelik in Torah and Kvod Shemayim. Sincerely, Yoel HaLevi Doppelt, Yeshkoyach Yoel HaLevi. Do we have, let's just do this real quickly. 3 weeks ago, I sponsored the shir in honor of my father's Yortzei Menachem Ephraim ben Chaim, the bris of my son, and you guessed it. I named my son Menachem Ephraim on the first Yortzei Mamish, on that day. Yesterday, we had a pidyon abed for my son. I want to let you know that my father had been learning the daf for many years. He was a member of Bnei Reuven Shir in Chicago. Since 1989, it was given by Rabbi Bechover, then Rabbi Feiner. It's currently given by Rabbi Lichtman, the Rosh Hashiva of Marat Torah. Yes, Chicago. Some point after my father passed away, I realized I had not been learning much, and I thought it would be a good idea to start doing Daf Yomi in honor of my father while exploring different shiurim. I chanced upon your 8-minute daf, and after 2 days, I discovered the full shir. This is back when I still gave the 8-minute daf. Nassan is going to use this email against you. I told you got to take the 8-minute. Okay. It is almost as if the 8-minute daf is bait to get people hooked on your full shir, but don't worry. You see, that's what Nassan always says, because Uncle Phil, Yossi Klein, Sheleima Klein, all these main guys that came to the shir are off the 8-minute daf bait. It is a bait and switch. That's why I stopped it. I felt it was not very, what's the word I'm looking for? Integrity? Ethical. Wasn't very ethical. No. We'll go back to what Beis Hashem. Rebellion, I've been with you since the start of Subas, and while I don't do the 8-minute daf, sometimes I feel that full shir is an 8-minute shir that takes you 42 minutes to give at 2 speed. Kidding. I want to acknowledge Rabbi Zalman Twersky. I love Rabbi Zalman Twersky. Rabbi Zalman Twersky is a main figure in Chicago, and he's part of the shir, a very big part of the shir. He was my 5th grade Rebbe and principal at Cheder Lubavitch, Chicago. He's instrumental in me doing the daf and motivates me to keep going. Because of him, I'm proud to say I do the daf. I'm excited to learn and feel accomplished. Dover, Emmanuel, Chicago. See you in Miami. Be'ezer Hashem. Rabbi Sai. You're not going to believe this. Over 300 people signed up to Miami. And I believe that today is the last day for the early bird special, which basically is a huge discount because it's costing us, we thought it's going to cost us $150 a person, but we might be changing venues and it's going to cost us even more. We have to change venues. We're growing. Probably not going to fit into the first one. Anyway, fine. The Koilel, sponsored anonymously by Lakewood. Rabbi Ephraim Shapiro confirmed that he's speaking at the Siyum, Be'ezer Hashem. We're looking forward. The Masechta, sponsored. Ein Sgula Katorim and Temcha K'iYakov Ya'alach. The Parnassa Shavua L'Schus Refuah Sheleima, success and Parnassa and Nachas from our children. In memory of our father, Rabbi MOSHA Epstein, a shul rabbi for close to 50 years. The Shoma should have in Aliyah, Tzvi Statfeld and Chanan, Aschendorf. In memory of my wife's grandmother, Temma Sassa Bas Menachem Mendel HaLevi. Shoma should have in Aliyah. Joshua Herschberg and Stuart Silverman, Lili Nishmas, Rav Yaakov Chaim Klein on his 10th yard side, a gadol from She'eris HaPleita. The art is sponsored for complete Refuah Sheleima of Chaim Tzvi Ben Leah. I forgot to mention that the video from Torah Messiah was done, Lili Nishmas, the tremendous Nugget and Balzdaka from Chicago, Reb Jack Reichenbach, Reb Yankiv Reichenbach, Zeichet Tzadik Livrocha. He was a huge tzaddik, huge. So his neshama should have an aliyah. All right. Rabbi Sai, here we go. Just to do a very, very quick chazara. Also, because I think it's probably one of the coolest sounding chakiras in Shas. Megas Gayas, or Miklash Kolish, it's one of these chakiras you can never forget. So it's kedai just to review it real quickly. Basically, we have a case where the father and the husband, the Arus, who's engaged to the father's daughter, obviously, they are the ones who are made for the nether. They annul a nether. Oh, come here, tzaddik. You come every day, so you get to come to the front. We just did a whole thing with the kids from the shir, so come. Shalom Aleichem. Next time you have to come on time and you'll be able to do Good Morning Rabbi. You know what? You can do Good Morning Rabbi now. You want to do it? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Thank you for coming every day. All right. So, the two of them in conjunction. So the Gemara had a chakira. What happens when only one of them does his afara? The father, let's say, does 50%. He takes away he says the nether is annulled and he's waiting for the husband to do it. The Gemara says in Afkimino what happens, but The question is, Megas guys, if we go back to the chart, is it the pshat that the father took away half of the neder, literally took half away, and left a complete 50%? Or perhaps he weakened the whole thing. He didn't take anything away, it just became weaker. It's like a hamburger without any of the dressing, says Judah David. Here you have, it was his idea. Here you have olives. If the father takes off one part, let's say the X, he takes out that one olive. That's one way to look at it. Megas guys, or miklash kol should just become. They're both there, but they're just very weak. So the Gemara says, we're doing this quick. In the final case, we have the father who does the hafara, and then the husband doesn't have a chance to do a hafara, and he dies. So the Gemara says over here we have a machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai are going to say megas gayas. Let's go back to them. I like it better. Megas gayas. There's a complete half. The half is there that the husband could give over, inherit to the father could inherit it. Why? Because it's something that's complete. It's a complete 50%. Beis Hillel, on the other hand, hold it's weak. And something that's weak, you can't inherit. So Mela, in this case, for instance, with the two olives, according to Beis Shammai, if a woman makes a neder, she's not going to eat olives, and she eats those two olives, then she'd be chayiv malchus. Why? Because you have a complete olive. But if you hold like Beis Hillel, she wouldn't be chayiv malchus because it's a very weak olive, and on a weak olive, you don't get malchus. And now we're holding Rabbi sign Daf Samach Tes Amud Aleph, 6 lines down, Bay Rava, another Hakir. We're going through these beautiful shaylas, Lamdish shaylas. Yesh she'ela b'hakem, oy ein she'ela b'hakem. We know there's two things, there's two concepts. One is a concept of kiyum, and one is a concept of hafara. Kiyum means if a father or a husband hears that his wife or daughter made a neder, he could be mikayim the neder. He says, I am saying that this neder is mekuyim. Mekuyim, he says the one word, and that's it. The neder is solid. Or he could say hafara. He could destroy the neder. So yesterday, I went to the kollel for a few minutes in the morning to ask them what kind of art do they recommend for the sugya. And the Belzer told me there is no art on this stuff. Forget about it. I said, no, you got to put your mind, we got to think about it. No, there is no art. Anyway, this is what we came up with. Not the Belzer. Yoshi did a lot, whatever. There are a bunch of people involved there. Let's say a neder is a building. A neder is a building. So hafara would be to break the building, to destroy the building. What would be kiyum? How would you guys, if you're an artist, how would you draw kiyum? Scaffolding. So we were thinking about doing like an outer exterior wall that's mechazik. But here's another way of looking at it. Tell me what you think. Here's the neder building, okay? Here's hafara. The building is being destroyed by hafara demolition services. You remember what that lady's name is? Lachluchas? And the cat is flying out of there. Okay, fine. That's hafara. This is what he did for kiyum. We like this. It's all on a different... Okay, I should have taken off that. Kiyum is a wall that prevents the hafara from happening. It's a prevention of hafara. So they build a wall around so that the demolition can't come. You can't do hafara once you do a kiyum. So asks Rava.
Should have put spikes on the roof.
And we all know in Ramat Shemesh, spikes do not work against pigeons, especially Israeli pigeons. They sit in the spikes, in the spikes, mamish in the spikes. I'm going to show you in the time of Beis Hamikdash. I don't know if we'll find a kosher pigeon. They all have like spikes through their kishkes. Boy Rav, Yimei yesh she'ela b'hakem oy ein she'ela b'hakem. So here's another picture. The guy goes to a bezdin and he says, "Listen, I made a kiyum. I made a fence around the neder. I don't allow anybody to break it. I feel bad. I thought about it, and my daughter got herself into a big mess here. She can't eat any protein for the rest of her life. She made a neder. I got to get her out of this. Help me out. Rabbis, help me out. Could he undo the kiyum? Could he undo and break the wall? What's the shayla? I mean, on a neder, you could also go to the bezin and is a kiyum part of the neder? We have a special halacha. You can go to a bezin and undo a neder. But the fact that somebody has the ability to break a neder or to be Menachem a neder, who says you can undo that?
Shouldn't say like
Dayo is fakir. You can't go more.
right?
But over here, you want to do equal. But who says that a concept even exists by kiyum and afara? Why should it exist?
If you could do it by the nether, no.
You could do it by the neder.
Then why not by the kiyum?
The kiyum is a special thing. Well, could you do it in afara? Could you do it by afara? Could you undo afara? Why not?
It's done already.
Oh, okay. But kiyum, who told you? Kiyum is a special halacha in the Torah. You could be Menachem. Who says? It says in the Torah, Ishay kimeno, Ishay fereno. You're Menachem. Menachem means you made it solid. So who says you can undo it? Who says it's in the same category as another? Yeah. Oh, yeah, we spoke about it. Yeah. Over here, you're right. Over here, we're going through how it works. Over there, we just mentioned it. Just like yesterday, we explained the 4 cases of a Mishnah Daf Ayin, and we're not even going to explain the Daf Ayin. Sometimes it's Ein Mucher Mugdam B'Gemara. Says the Gemara, but I'm proud of you that you remembered it. Because it bothered me. I had to find where it was. I'm like, we discussed the Shaila already. Imtin Sheleima. Now, the Ran just points out that we're talking about that same day. Because it says, V'machareish yachrish lo isha miyoim el yoim. You only have one day to do B'yoim Shamai. What did I do here? No. Okay, fine. But this is miyoim. You have a 24-hour. You have a day. Fine. But it's that day. So you can't go to the Bezdin 6 days later and say, I want to undo my kiyum and could I be mefer? Yeah, within that period of that day, could he undo it? Intim Salami Yashela Bahakim. Now, if you're going to say that you could undo the kiyum, yes, Sheila Bahafer, Oyein Sheila Bahafer. So there is a song, I couldn't really find it. Misha Ma'amin Shevshal Kakel, Ma'amin Shevshal Taken. How does it go? No. Oh, that's MBD. Yeah, I saw it and it's like, no, he's talking about, you're right, it is that. Okay. I mean, I always had a big cash on that song. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I could take a building, knock it down, I can't really build it back. I could take an atom bomb and blow up a city, I could put it back. But the song, the words of the song, on Yiddishkeit, on if you believe that you could sin and think and do something wrong and go against HaKadosh Baruch Hu for a minute, so you could also go for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the next minute. That's what it means. But in terms of physical stuff, if you believe that you could destroy, it doesn't necessarily mean you could build. If you could destroy a neder, then the neder is gone. Like Noam said, it's gone. Mechtes, you could build it. So the reason is, the Ran says over here, it's a very good kasha. It's not, Rabbi Nachman said, you could destroy, you could build. No, if the neder is gone, it's gone. You can't just, Rabbi, I got rid of the neder, could you get it back for me? No, I can't get it back for you. You knocked down the building, I can't get it back for you. It's knocked down. It's finished. It's rubble. Just what? So the Ran says, Memela, I have to come on to this. This is Afara. I apologize with these transitions. I have the wrong thing on here. But anyway, right? If you did Afara and you literally destroyed the building, what's the Havamina that I could rebuild it? So the Ran says, because in Pasuk Yudalad, in that whole parasha, it says, Isha Yikimeno, V'Isha Yifirenu. It's like a Gzeres Shava. You have a hekesh between the two things, and if I could undo a kiyum, it's a Gzeres HaKasav that I could undo a afara. You're right, logically it doesn't make any sense. But maybe this Gzeres HaKasav, says the Ran. Okay. By the way, once I'm talking about this, because I had an email and I thought I just heard about it yesterday. A woman asked from Noach Weinberg, she says this whole parsha of Afars Nedarim is very biased to the men. Men have the right to be made for their wives' Nedarim, but women don't have a right to be made for their husband's Nedarim. And that's basically what that woman was, the one that was driving from Toronto, I think, to Florida. She asked her husband in the email. So he told her, he said, no, the opposite. You're lucky. The Torah had rachmanas on women. Sometimes, on the spur of the moment, they spit out, we're not going to eat chocolate forever. So you're lucky you have a way out of it. Your husband is able to be made for it. The husband doesn't have a way out. If he says something, he's stuck for life. He can't eat that chocolate. That's what he said. You're saying, you think to yourself, he's just trying to soothe it. Okay. I saw your eyes. Huh?
It's okay. It's a great answer.
Good for him now.
Oh, it's okay. To me, like, if I'm the woman, I'm going to ask, well, wait a minute. I don't have a say in it. What if I don't want him to do it? What? We're good to go? All right, we apologize. We had a technical issue. It's nothing. You know what? Yesterday at 1 o'clock in the morning, I sat down yesterday to watch. Well, we're going to go. Yesterday, I sat down to watch the shir, the editing of the beginning of the shir, and I saw that Yosef put in the first day of brachas as a part of the edit, the first day of brachas. And the first thing I noticed is that the camera shakes like crazy. We used to put the camera on a plastic table, on a little thing, it's a cell phone, and every movement, the whole time, the camera's going like this. So Baruch Hashem, right now, things have evolved. We have a great camera, and once in a while it goes off, so we apologize for that interruption. If you're on you, we start getting phone calls from people watching live now. What's going on? We're not seeing it. Okay, you didn't miss anything. If anything, you missed the shtickle sensor thing that is for members only. People that come to the shir. Yeah, says the Gemara. Yesh Sheila behekem and Sheila behekem. Intin tzaloi mar yesh Sheila behekem yesh Sheila behefer or yesh Sheila behefer. So we just explained. How could you have a shaila and a hafara? Hafara is to destroy. How can you undo a destruction? Okay, it's exeris hakasef toshma. I love when the Gemara has these tashmas, because a lot of times tashma is like, I'll bring you a raya for something similar. No, it says it mefurish in the Brisa. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, nishalim ala hekem, you could go to the bezdin or to somebody's a mumcha and say, hey, I made a mistake with my kiyum, I want to undo my fence around the building. Ve'ein nishalim ala hefer. And what we thought, literally like we thought that something that you destroy, you can't undo. So if the father goes ahead and he says that he's annulling the daughter's neder, and then he gets upset at her and says, you know what? You should be stuck not eating protein for the rest of your life. It's too late. You can't go to the Rav. You can't do anything about it. Because once he destroyed the neder went to Shemayim. It's bye-bye. You buried it and you can't take it out anymore. But a kiyum you could undo by Rabba or Rava. Kayim lechi. Now, he's saying the same exact words. I am being mekayim the neder. I'm being mekayim the neder. So obviously, the second one is 0. Because once he's mekayim the neder, he says kayim lechi, the neder is mekoyim. Whatever he says after that, it doesn't add anything. So another time you're going to mekayim it, you're only kayim once. But the question is, where did the second kiyum go to? The second one that he said, I'm kayim, where is it now? Do you just ignore it completely? Or it's suspended and waiting to engage. And meaning that if you get rid of the first one, you go to the Rav and you say, I have charat on the first one, the second one will plop into place, and that's the one that will be mekuyim. So kayim lechi, v'nishal al kamer rishoyin, and he went to the bezdin, and he only asked for the first one out of the 2 times that he said kayim, mao. Do we say that the second one comes into place? Tashma, Doma Rava. So Rava says in a different halacha that if a person, the Ram brings it, that if a person makes a shvuah that he's not going to eat, I'm not going to eat. He makes 2 shvuahs, he's not going to eat. And he eats. What happens if he eats after he makes 2 shvuahs? How many malchus does he get? How many surim does he get? Just 1. However, even though he only gets 1 isur, 1 malchus, but if he asks ha'atara on his shvuah, on one of them, on the first one, then the second one, which is suspended and waiting to come into place, falls into place, and he's over on the second one. So, I don't know if this picture helps or not. So here's the shaila. If I should have put a note here, what it is, this is the kiyum. You destroyed a kiyum, first kiyum. So the question is, does the second kiyum come into place? You see, kiyum number one, he destroyed, he went to Harav, and they knocked down the wall. Do we say that the second kiyum comes into place and now you have another wall that prevents that fire from happening or not? And over here you see that it does come into play. You see from Shavuos that it comes into play. Says the Gemara, some people got hungry from the hamburger. Some people get hungry from a live animal. Boy Rabbi. Kaim lechi umufar lechi. Now listen to this. I think this should have been Menachem Atar. I don't know if you have that. Is he still doing the cartoons on the daf? Consistency. This would have been a gewaldige cartoon. It's a woman, it's a wife, standing there with a notebook, writing down every word her husband says. Listen to what he says. The most convoluted meshugana you ever met. He says like this. He hears his wife saying, I'll never eat chocolate for the rest of my life. He says like this. Chayim lechi umufur lechi. It should be mekuyim, your nether is good, it should be destroyed. V'loi teichol akama, and she's writing, V'loi teichol akama Elohim Kain Chala Hafara. And it could only be substantiated, Mekuyam, if there's a Hafara, if it's destroyed. What in the world just happened? So, the Ran explains as follows. Obviously, let's go step by step, very slow. If there's a Hafara first, the nether, the building fell down to the ground, you can't pick it up anymore. You can't do kiyum. That's step one. If the hafara is not chal, you didn't destroy the building, then there's no t'nai, then you didn't do what he said. She wrote down all the stipulation is that loy teichol akama, there shouldn't be any akama if there's no hafara. Well, you can't do hafara because that destroys the building. And if you don't do hafara, then you can't have akama, because he said you only have akama if there's afara, and you can't do afara. So what do? Oh, says the Ran, there's no question about the akama. The only question is about the afara. Very good. That's pasha that you cannot have akama. But the Gemara says, but maybe the afara should be okay. Why? Because at the end of the day, this guy wanted both of them to happen. Okay? Maybe he wanted both of them to happen. He wasn't such a Talmud Chacham, such a guy in Olam. He wanted both of them to happen. But he put an emphasis on the Afara. He wanted the Afara to happen. He didn't realize that it can't. Okay, so maybe the Afara should happen. Huh? No, he wanted. You see from him, he's Megala Das that he wants the Hafara. And maybe the Hafara should be chal out of the whole mess that we just had. All these words that she wrote down. She ran to the Bezdin. Hey, what should I do? He said, it should be mekuyim, it should be mufar, and it should only be mufar if it was mekuyim if it was mufar. So maybe from this whole mess, we could take out one word here, hafara. Because at the end of the day, you see that he's more makbid on hafara, and that was his intent over here. Okay. Mao, what's the halacha? Amud Beis, sponsored by Greg Haber for bracha. Parnassa, haslacha for his entire family, and everyone learning the daf. So, at the end, let me just tell you real quickly what's going on here in one line. We have throughout Shas, when a person says two things that even contradict each other, do we go by the first lashon or the second lashon? Tfais lashon rishon, tfais lashon achroin. Yoey, you were here the whole time, and you didn't come to the front. Come here a second. Get over here. David, you let him get away with this?
A little after.
Shalom Aleichem. Yoey is my son Yoel's best friend, and your son Mordechai's best friend. And where's Mordechai? Mordechai comes a lot. Punkt today. That shows you to come every day on time, no? How many Masechtas did you do with us? Sukkah Gimel. Is that true? Unbelievable. I can fire you, no? You ready for a challenge? Yalla. Yishkoyach for coming. So, right? So we have a shaila, tfais lashon rishon, tfais lashon achron. So the Gemara is going to say at the end of the day, even if we say and then we agree that we go by the first lashon, by the first words that a person says, and in this case the first words were what? Amekayim. We're going to go with hafara. And now we just have to see why. Why is this different than every other place? Tashmam and look to the Rabbi Yosi the Snan. It says in the Mishnah, Reizu tmuras oila tmuras shlamim. Okay, so here we go. Show the chart for a second. Tmura. Tmura is a very interesting halacha. I don't know. You're asking me all these shilas. I don't know. Don't. Hold on a second. So, this is... Why is there an arrow over there, Gary? Is that your arrow? It's not showing on... You don't see it. Okay. Let's take it. Tmura is an interesting halacha. If you haven't heard about it before, and a lot of people haven't, believe it or not, it's a halacha that says that if I designated the animal as a carbon chatos over here, it's number one. And I realized, wait a minute, that's not nice to bring to the Beis Hamikdash. It's a skinny little animal. Let me give HaKadosh Baruch Hu a nice fat animal. And I say, animal number 2 should be instead of animal number 1. You would think it's a beautiful thing that he did. In fact, they both become chatos. And as an added bonus, we give the guy malchus. We put him on a table. We give him those marks. If he ever goes to the mikveh or whatever, he has marks right down his front, right down his back, 40 of them. Why? Because he did a bad thing. You don't do that. You don't do tmura. Great. Now, here we have a cheverman that says another case. He says, you see, these 2 animals that I had one is an oila, one is a shlamim. I want to make this one animal both. Now, an animal can't be both, but it could be both maybe. The way it could be both is, let's say the halacha is it's both, and there is a halacha like that, it's both. So what you do is you let it graze, yirat shistav, you let it graze until it befalls a mum, then you sell it, and what do you do with the money? 50% shlam and 50% oila. Okay, so here we have a machlokes. The what? Harei tmuras oila tmuras shlam. So that's the case right over here. He says that his animal should be the tmura, the one on the bottom, the nice gesunte animal should be both an oila and a shlamim. But he says it like this: Harezu tmuras oila, tmuras shlamim. Harezu tmuras oila, divri Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says tfais lashon rishon. I go with his first words. His first words was this animal should be an oila. Boom, stop. It's an oila. Whatever he added afterwards, we don't care about. Rabbi Yosi Omer im lekach neskaven mitchila. If that was his intent from beginning. So, in other words, like this, Rabbi Yosi agrees that if he decided to regret and take back what he said oila, and he says, whoa, I meant shlamim, he agrees that tfais lashon rishon, I go with his first words are oila, oila. What happened was over here, he said, you ask him, what happened? What did you want? And he says, I wanted both. Oh. So says Rabbi Yosi, im lekach neskav mitchila, he wanted both. HaLevi efshar likrosh shnei shemes ke'echad, dvarav kayam. The animal, you can't do both. So the animal has halacha as both. In other words, you sell it and you split everything. So according to Rameh, that says that he wants his first words to be chal, and then afterwards, so Memela, what does he want over here? He wants kiyum. So there is no afara. But according to Rabbi Yosi, he wants both. Both you can't have over here. So at least give him afara. He meant both, and what he really wanted is afara. So you give him afara, like we said before. But the Gemara says no. Vafilu Rabbi Meir, but everybody's going to agree now that over here it's different. And over here, we don't say tfais lashon rishon, we go by his first words. Afilu Rabbi Meir like Omar loiteichel zu elam kein chol zu. When he wanted both of them to happen, okay. So you can't have both, because again, Rabbi said kiyum and afara are a contradiction. You can't have both. Either it's a destroyed building or it's a building that can't be destroyed, but it can't be both in the same thing. So Mela, since you can't have both, so even Meir agrees that the last words are what he meant, and in our case, if he says both, and he said this convoluted thing, and he tried to mess up his wife, he says you should have hakama and afara, and you should only have a hakama if the afara works. What he meant is, at the end of the day, since it can't be both, that the afara should be chal. I did? Latzlacha for the members of the HBA group and their families. Amen. I see people are paying attention, at least the sponsorships. Nishmas.
No one knows what HBA is.
I don't either. I guess they don't want us to know. Do we know?
I've seen them.
They pay. What difference members on?
So first of all, I just want to say this, that Reb Shalom Shvadron always used to say, because we're talking about you can't say two things at the same time. So Reb Shalom Shvadron always said that I can make, by just saying one thing, I can make half my audience laugh and half my audience cry. How? So he would say a very, very sad story and this and that and dying, and everybody would cry. And then he'd put his hand like this and stick out his tongue to one side. And then this side would laugh and this side would cry. So you'd say, I could make two, in one dibur I can make two things happen. It happens to be that if you say that women can't multitask, so I could be made by myself about my own wife. My wife is able to talk on the phone, drive in reverse, and smash my car. Maisa Shahaya. No edit, just don't tell her. I told you the story. We bought her she bought a Land Cruiser. Back in the day, it was that big Toyota Jeep, and I had an Avalon, and I parked behind her. On the first day, I found her car, her wheel was on top of my hood. Now, if you ask her, she said, I'm not mamish. It was next to the hood. Because she smashed on my car. Good. Okay.
Probably deserved it.
I, of course, deserved it. There's one last thing, but be'emes, a dvar halacha here. Seriously. Here's a shayla for the olam. I didn't write any shaylas. How is it possible when the person learns Torah, right now you're learning Torah, you're mekayim a mitzvah. Tremendous mitzvahs. Each word is equal to Torah mitzvahs. How is it possible that you're sitting here learning, but really you're doubling your mitzvahs?
That Ponzi scheme, right?
Oh. If you're Peretz Chaim Levine, you're 500 times your mitzvah. Because 500 people are learning right now because of you. So it's shaykh to do one thing and be mekayim two things at the same time. Boy Rabba. Kiem umufar lechi bevasachas mao. He said the two things, but he only said one lechi at the end. And you're supposed to put, the Ran says, it's like a comma. Kiem umufar lechi. He didn't say bevasachas. There's two lashonis, but the point is the same. He said it together. Kiem umufar lechi bevasachas mao toshma. Domer Rabba kol davar she'eni b'zachas zeh. Afilu bevasachas eino. We're going to stop here. Let me just explain this real quick. In this case, for instance, I just use this because we didn't redraw the art. But here's a chassan that is mekadesh a bunch of sisters in one shot. How many of them are mekudesh? He says, all of you are mekudesh. How many? One or none? The halach is none. Why? Because since you cannot marry two sisters, so if he married Rachel, he cannot marry Leah afterwards. So you can't do it together. So when you do it together, it's not chal either. Again, kol davar she'eni b'zachar zeh. If you can't do it one after the other, you can't marry Rachel and then Leah. Afilu b'vasachas eino. So then when you do it together in one shot, like he's doing in this picture, zero. And memela bayos also, since you can't do hafar and then kiyum, you can't do two things one after another. So mele, even one of them is not chal. Have a wonderful day. Okay?